Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of The Awesome with Cody. As usual, I'm your host, Cody, and today we are continuing August's theme of awesome Rick Remender sci-fi books, or just awesome Rick Remender books. Anyhow, so this week we're talking about, first off, it doesn't matter. I was going to say, if you tuned in last week, you heard us talk about Low, and the week before that was Tokyo Ghost. This week we're talking about 7 to Eternity. So what I was going to say is we already talked about Rick a little bit, so if you haven't listened to the first two, I'm not going to really go over a whole lot of what Rick has done, other than the fact that he's done a lot of cool shit. But this month is all about him and his sci-fi books, so, that's what you need to know. But today, in 7 to Eternity, I would like to talk about the artist a little bit. So colorist on this is also a gentleman I talked about last week, Matt Hollingsworth. He is the colorist in this as well. I think he's done... I want to say he's done all of them. I believe so. He's done all of 7 to Eternity. I should have looked that up. Hold please while I go over here and I click on the link I had already set up. But I believe I talked about Matt, not last week on Low, the first week of the month. I talked about him on Tokyo Ghost, and how amazing his coloring is and how it really adds to it. And this is another book where it adds to it as well, because, he's done so many things, and it's amazing what he's done. In this book alone, I would say, just like in Tokyo Ghost, if you remember what I'm talking about when I talk about that, in this, he brings a amount of detail out into the world, and like things like textures on different items, and the way that, for example, one of the characters in this, Katie, when she powers up to use her bow, her eyes glow, and the coloring just adds to the flair of it and the excitement and things like that. And it's just really cool to see the stuff that he does with it, especially when you get into Volume 2, when you leave the main land that they're in. I'll explain more about that in a little bit. There's a lot, they throw a lot more into it. Jerome Opeña's art that's in this really comes to life even more so with Matt Hollingsworth's coloring behind it, and I think it's just that much better for it too. Just like how in Tokyo Ghost, when you had Sean Gordon Murphy, if in that one, Sean Murphy's art, Matt Hollingsworth's coloring just really added that more extra pop to it. And I think he does an amazing job with the contrast of colors too, and then how the littlest things make an image pop up, especially with someone who has such dynamic art like Jermaine. His art is overly detailed beyond what it a lot of artists would do in a continuing story. His covers are amazing. His interior art is just as amazing, and tells an amazing story with it. And there's all these cool little things to see in the background, and all these details you pick up, and it really helps that Matt's coloring is that much better on it. But anyways, so I call him Jerome Opeña, is a Filipino comic book artist, best known for his collaborations with Rick Remender, and that's why I wanted to bring this up first and not talk all about Rick, because Rick has done a lot of things, but Jerome has done an amazing amount of stuff with Rick, all the way back to 2005, when they first worked together, and he's done so many great things with them past that. So I guess the biggest time the biggest project he worked with him on was probably Fear Agent. Was his biggest thing for a long time, but Rick brought him with him when he went to did a lot of stuff on an Image. He did with he did a couple one shots with Wolverine that he did with Rick, or he did one with Rick. He did one with Greg Hurwitz as well, but he did a mini series or a run in the Punisher with Rick. He worked on Uncanny X-Force with Rick for two story arcs, I believe. He worked with Rick on Rage of Ultron, which is a graphic novel that was amazing, and of course he's worked with him on Seven to Eternity, and he's done quite a bit of covers as well. He did everything from all the stuff he worked on with Rick in Marvel with the Punisher and Wolverine, and Uncanny X-Men, Uncanny X-Force, Spider-Man, Captain America, Deadpool. He did a Iron Man book, Fear Agent. He worked on that. Spider-Gwen. So many. He did a couple Batman covers. He did a Deathstroke cover. He's done a lot of cool stuff. His art's amazing. It's especially, I think his best work is by far is done with Seven to Eternity. It's just the covers alone are just. I said this last week too. I think with Low, the covers are so stupendous, and I say this a lot with Rick Remender books when I talk to him about my friends or with my friends with him. Black Science, the covers are phenomenal. Seven to Eternity covers are phenomenal. I mean, Fear Agent always had really good covers. It's just I don't know if it's a thing he requests or he just pulls from people, but he does an amazing job at it, and it's phenomenal. I mean, there's some really good variant covers for a lot of the Seven to Eternity books too, but there's something about Jerome Opeña's covers that are just stupendous, and you should definitely always want to get those for sure. Anyhow, so you may be asking, Cody, what is Seven to Eternity? Let me explain a little bit. So before I give you the synopsis of a number one here, which will break down a lot of what you really need to know, or story-wise, this is set in a world vastly different than ours. It's set in a fantasy element with a lot of magic and science intertwined together. It is definitely a fantasy. It has no real ties to humanity as we know it, other than the fact that they're humanoid creatures and that there's and not saying the characters are unknowable or unrelatable. They're completely relatable because they're written by Rick Remender and he's amazing. But it's a fantastical element to everything, and there's these different creatures, and there's more than just humans or humanoid. They're all humanoid, but there's more just than the basic humans that you see. Many great characters, many great villains. Yeah, it's just great all around, and should be celebrated and looked at for its diversity in there as well, because there's a lot of cool characters on both good and bad that are in it. It's pretty cool. So this is the official synopsis from Image Comics. You can find it on, I think it's the same ones on Wikipedia and all over the place. This is how it reads. The God of Whispers has spread an omnipresent paranoia to every corner of the kingdom of Zal. I believe that's how I pronounce it, but that's how I always read it, and no one's ever corrected me because no one reads with me. His spies hide in every hall, spreading mistrust and fear. Adam, again, I think this is how you pronounce this. Osidis, I think, I'm not too sure. Osidis, I don't know. A dying knight from a disgraced house must choose between joining a hopeless band of magic users in their desperate bid to free their world of the evil god, or accepting his promise to give Adam everything his heart desires. So basically, this dude who comes from and you learn more about this throughout the story, this disgraced family has two choices. One is he can go towards the evil and give up his humanity, give up what's left of his name and his family, including his daughter, for everything he wants or promise of, or he can band together with his daughter, who is also struggling to free the family name from the disgrace that they have brought about, or he has brought about, and then with these other people fight against this evil regime that is taken over their beloved land, and go from there. That's issue 1. That's kind of the synopsis of story arc 1. Story arc 2, or volume 2, actually does a great job of expanding even more so on the world that Rick and Jerome have built. Not just Jerome, I mean Matt Hollingsworth is there too, but of the two. And the cool thing about the second one is it's a direct correlation. It's not like it's a bigger story. It's just another section of the bigger story that Rick's telling with it, and this is another half of it. But they actually get to leave the kingdom of Zal and go out into the wider world where there is even more bad things going on with bad creatures and bad people or bad entities, as well as there's also a bunch of good out there too. And along with him and his daughter and these other group of people, other magicians or people as they're known in the world, as Mozak, they then travel beyond their normal area and are getting into the bigger, wider, adventurous world that's out there. And then in Volume 3, which that one came out this time last year, if I remember correctly. Yeah, I think so. I can't remember. I think it was last year. I'm trying to see on this page here. Yeah, March of last year. Okay, so a little earlier than the year than this. So March of last year. But in that one, in Volume 3, you get to really dive into a little bit more of Adam's past and Katie's past, but also you find out that there's more than just there's more to their story than just what happened in Zal. There's a lot more outside as well, and there's a bunch of cool new again, just like in the second volume, a bunch of cool new characters you get introduced to, and then of course a bunch of amazing covers by Jerome and Matt, and then obviously the amazing interiors by both of them as well. And I highly recommend. You can get volumes 1, 2, and 3 in trade paperback, all for they're either from $12.99 to $16.99, or I can't remember all the pricing of them. Actually, I can pull it up right now because they should be here. Yeah, they're all I want to say they're all $17. Let me see what this one says. Oh, you can buy volume 1 for $10. It's because it's only issues 1 through 4. It makes sense. It's only $10. But volume 2, story arc 2, is also 4 issues, but $16.99. And that one actually has a different cover than issue 5 did, because issue 5 had right? Is the one that had a different cover, right? Issue 5. Oh, I guess it was the same cover. 5. So volume 1 has issue 1 cover on it. Volume 2 has issues 5 on it, the cover for issue 5, and I believe 10 is the cover art for volume 3. Yeah, it goes up to issue 13. Oh, also, I mentioned this during Tokyo Ghost, I believe. There are giant-sized artist proof editions of issue 1 and issue 2 that are available that show off Jerome Opeña's art in the best way possible. It is missing the fabulous coloring by Matt Hollingsworth, but if you like the art of Jerome Opeña, those two are phenomenal gets if you can get a hold of them. They're a little harder to get now because they've been out for a couple years, and those ones don't really keep those ones going a lot. But I think you can probably buy them from Image, or not from Image, but from your a comic shop. You should be able to order them because Image doesn't really sell stuff directly. I don't think they have a store, to tell you the truth. Anyways, so that's kind of in a nutshell everything it is to know about Seven to Eternity. Like I said, the touchstones of it are the amazing character work done by Rick, the amazing world building that both him and Jerome do when it comes to it. The visuals are definitely stunning, and I'll post a few on the website. A couple of the covers I really like, and I'll grab a couple of the interior shots from that one's Image posted up. I think I got a couple from Image that I posted or that I found earlier when I was doing my research on it. But yeah, I mean, it's just phenomenal. Just art in general. If you want to check it out, I mean, definitely go to a comic shop and buy them, but also you can get them digitally. I'm not gonna lie. They look really good on a good, nice tablet or on your laptop or computer if you like to read them digitally. If you have a nice, iPad Pro or one of the big Samsung Galaxy tablets, they look tremendous on those. As well, I think you can actually get Comixology almost on anything now. Phones as well, if you want to read them on there. If you have a nice phone, you can do that fun stuff in there. I was gonna say, I think you can view all of them on your computer too. I don't think there's a limit to that because it's digital books. Never tried it actually, but I'm pretty sure it's on there. It'd be weird if it wasn't on there. But yeah, I think that's going to wrap it up for this week's episode. Again, we were talking about Seven to Eternity by Rick Remender, writer Rick Remender, and artist Jerome Opeña, with coloring by Matt Hollingsworth. And I don't know who did I didn't look up to see who did the lettering or anything like that, but those are the three main ones, which I'm not being shitty on letters. I just don't know who did the lettering on this one. But anyhow, that's it for this week's episode, everybody. Again, I have been your host, Cody, and as usual, at the end of these, I always like to say, let's be awesome.